Mm. What's up, everybody? YouTube Live, how's it going? This is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment. Right now is September 20th, Friday night, around 9:45 p.m. California time, and I'm back. This is probably this is probably this is probably my third live stream of the day. So you can check out my previous videos from earlier on right here on this channel. Um, I want to go back because I've been meaning to talk to you about this or this. I've been meaning to discuss this new series on Netflix ever since maybe 2 weeks ago when Netflix granted me the screeners to the entire episodes. I did not get to review it last week when it premiered on Netflix, unfortunately, because I was away in Toronto covering Toronto International Film Festival. So I had no time whatsoever to actually sit down and do the whole shebang and a well edited kind of review of this series. Unbelievable. That's the title. Unbelievable. Um, and also because the Thursday before the Friday premiere of Unbelievable, I was stuck on the plane the whole day, man. United Airline sucks balls. Okay. I was supposed to have arrived in California around 10 a.m. in the morning. I was planning to use that whole afternoon to actually shoot and edit this review of Unbelievable in the afternoon of that day. But what happened instead was my flights got delayed. Even my connecting flights got delayed. So I did not go home to California until after probably 7, maybe I want to say even 8 p.m. It sucks because I missed out on the screening of Ad Astra. So I didn't even get to screen Ad Astra until last night. So you know how it is. Whenever a show or a movie already premieres, more than often, um, I just do live review as opposed to the reviews that you often see here on the channel, where it's like with jump cuts and edits and maybe graphics on the back and stuff like that. Because I only do that format for shows and movies that haven't been released publicly yet. When a movie or a show has already been released publicly, like this one, Unbelievable, I just do live stream review because everybody has seen it. Everybody already has their opinion about it. So there's no use of me to just spend like 4 hours um, editing and making a well cut jump cut kind of video when I can just straight up address it to you guys who already have seen the film or the show as well, and you guys can chime in while I share my view of it. So that's the context. But I really wanted to talk to you about this, even though it's been a week late, because this is one of those shows that is just, in my opinion, is very, very powerful. Sorry, I had dinner, so my dinner just did not sit well with me, so I might have to visit the bathroom later. I know that's TMI. Um, Unbelievable in a nutshell. Okay, it's based on real events in the let me read this. I want to get this right. Marshall Project and ProPublica Pulitzer Prize winning article, an unbelievable story of rape, and the This American Life radio episode, Anatomy of Doubt. Ooh, glad I have my notes on my screen because I wouldn't be able to memorize those. Um, and all the episodes of Unbelievable are or were directed by two very well-known female filmmakers, Susanna Grant and Lisa Cholodenko. I hope I pronounced that last name correctly. Um, the story has actress Kaitlyn Dever play this character named Marie Adler, who files a police report claiming that she has been sexually assaulted in her home by an intruder. But the processes, plural processes of the investigation, uh, those processes constantly pound Marie Adler and bombard her to having to answer the same questions again and again. She goes from the interrogation room, and then to the medical room where she has to do the rape kit, and she gets asked that question again. So after so many times of such exposure to the same questions, it forces her, the questions force her to the question forces her to recollect, to revisit that horrible night's event in her mind again and again, to the point where Marie feels like a psychological pressure. She feels stress. She feels like, man, why am I treated like the bad guy here? Why do they keep interrogating me? Um, so she feels that pressure. Um, and to compound that, on top of that, many people that are around her, that are supposed to protect her, they themselves put seed of doubt in the detectives investigating her case. One such people is the foster parent of Marie Adler, who is just terrible. I forgot her name, but she's played by this actress who always plays a villain. She plays a villain in House of Cards. She plays a villain in. She always plays like a B word. Okay, so even she would tell the detectives like, "Oh yeah, Marie, she's an attention seeker. I don't know if I would put all my weight on her testimony, something like that." So it leads to the detectives and ultimately, eventually, everybody around her to doubting her story, and she gets pressured and pressured to the point where she even, like, you know what? I think I made up the whole thing. I made up. The rape never happened. The rape never happened. Just please leave me alone, okay? Just don't keep asking me the same question again. So she's labeled as a liar, a cry wolf, if you will, and it alienates her from everybody, including the people who are in her support system. So years went past, and then meanwhile, during Marie Adler's, the persecution of Marie Adler, if you will, by everybody around her, hundreds of miles away in Colorado, Detective Grace Rasmussen and Karen Duvall, respectively played by Toni Collette and Merritt Weaver. Merritt Weaver, as you know, is the actress from the series Nurse Jackie. She won an Emmy for that role. And Toni Collette is an Oscar nominee from the movie Sixth Sense, and she got snubbed last year for Hereditary. That was terrible. She should have at least gotten an Oscar nominated for that one. But anyway, they play detectives Grace Rasmussen and Karen Duvall. They're not partners. Okay, these detectives are not partners at first, um, but they end up working together because apparently each of them is investigating intruder rapes that share similarities. They share some things in common in terms of evidence, in terms of the rapist MO. So they're like, oh, maybe we are looking for the same person here. Why don't we join our brains together, like team up and collabo and help each other out? So that's what happens. They join resources and their skills in order to catch this potentially serial rapist. And spoiler alert, turns out that that's the same serial rapist who also committed crime against Marie Adler. So Marie Adler in the end turns out to have told the truth after all. So that's the gist of the show. Um, it's already been on Netflix for a week now, so it's not necessarily a spoiler anymore. Um, so here are my thoughts about it. First of all, I was surprised that it only had 8 episodes. I get it, limited series, right? But 8 episodes, that's usually the game styles of Hulu and Amazon Prime. Netflix, on average, they give us the audience about 10 episodes. 8 to me is rare. That's usually Hulu and Amazon's game. Like I said, Amazon Prime, it's always 8 episodes. Goliath, Carnival Row, you name it. But Netflix, 8 episodes, okay, interesting. But as I watched it, I was like, okay, I get why it has to be or it needs to be 8 episodes, because any episode longer or a couple of episodes longer, it would be unnecessary. And part of that is because a big chunk of the 8 episodes is dedicated towards the persecution of Marie Adler. I mean, her friends, like, I hate you, you're a liar. The landlord, or the leader of her support system, whatever this, I forget. I only watched it like once, a couple of weeks ago. But even that leader is like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you curfew now because nobody trusts you anymore, and we're gonna keep an eye out on you. What else? Of course, I mentioned the foster parent. There's another, also a nice older couple that genuinely love Marie Adler, but now, because of the reputation that she has, oh, she's a liar, she made up this rape. Even they are like, oh yeah, like the uncle, or the male mentor, one of the couples. He's like, I can't be around you, I can't be alone around you, I can't be seen alone around you because I'm a male. you know People might get the wrong impression, and you might even make up stories about me. It's just, so from episode 2 and like through episode 7 and parts of 8, it's all just like pounding Marie Adler like crazy from left and right, everybody hating her, everybody shitting on her. And so it's like it's more than enough. You know what I'm saying? If you add episode 9 and 10, it'll be like, oh really? how how many more times does Marie need to be persecuted by everybody around her? Really, really, that because that's all the song and dance number that this, not all, I guess you could say most of the song and dance number that the show has for Marie Adler. And the other side, or the other aspect, is the investigation of detectives Grace Rasmussen and Karen Duval. That part is really engaging, really, at least in my opinion, like, like Law and Order type of stuff. um but the Marie Adler section, it's just persecution, persecution, persecution. So 8 episodes is like, okay, I get it, it's more than sufficient. Now, this subject matter is very, very sensitive. Rape. um just by saying that word, I'm guessing this video will be demonetized by YouTube. But it is a topic or subject matter that needs to be addressed, um because unfortunately, even though right now in 2019 there are many cultures out there in the world, including America, big, or I should say parts of America, mostly in the South, and my homeland, Indonesia. Many cultures who still think or still consider such topic to be too taboo to be discussed or to be talked about, let alone depicted either in movies or on the screen. But I'm glad that this series, Unbelievable, is brave enough to break that norm, so to speak. So to speak. Um, yes, it does show the rape scenes pretty graphically, but it doesn't show it just for the sake of rattling your comfort cage. Um, it if anything, it goes to show like the how horrific how horrific such event is. Like it's necessary. A lot of people when they let me put it this way. I don't want to generalize or throw a lot of people under the bus, but I would say, carefully, some folks still have the mindset that, unfortunately, the mindset of when a rape happens, they would blame the victim. They would say, "Oh, she must have been wearing something sexy." Like, "Oh, what? Her short is like way up in the thigh section." Like she's like, it's like she's asking for it. Like that's their go-to move. Um, oh, here's another one. They'll be like, "Oh, what's she doing up walking late at night in the streets anyway?" Like, it's as if we're not allowed to walk on public streets anymore as members of society. You know, but the onus is always more on the women. Like, "Oh, the way she dresses, oh, she's walking by herself instead of being accompanied by a man." And I like, oh, and like there's all these excuses to kind of point the finger on the victim first, without taking the time to actually really realize, that rape victims, what they go through, or what they went through, I should say, is just absolutely horrific. So for this show to actually display the act itself, it's powerful. It's like, hey, it forces you to kind of come to terms and break down whatever stupid denial tendency that you would have, and come to terms to actually really realize that such an act is horrible. um and it should not be the victim's fault. um so it's not about just rattling your comfort cage. It's not just shock value for shock value's sake. It does have a purpose. But because of that, it's also really, really tough to watch. There are It's not just Marie Adler. I think there are a couple of more victims, because we're talking about serial rapists. One of them is an older lady. So he doesn't discriminate. It's about power for him. So, but yeah, it's really tough to watch. So viewers' discretion advice, as what they usually say. Now, let me talk about the actress, Kaitlyn Dever. You may have seen her in the movie this past summer, Booksmart. Kaitlyn Dever is a fantastic young rising star. I've noticed her even in one of my favorite shows that already ended its run. It was on FX. It's called Justified. She was there on Justified. And she was also in some other movies that pertain, or with a story set in the South or backwoods kind of story. For some reason, she's always cast in such stories. But anyway, back to Unbelievable. Kaitlyn does a magnificent job of playing this character, Marie Adler, um, who basically Kaitlyn's performance, or Kaitlyn's depiction or portrayal of Marie, represents a lot of sexual assault victims. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Kaitlyn's depiction of Marie Adler represents a lot of sexual assault victims out there who feel either scared or ashamed. Um, so ashamed of, like, oh my God, this happened to me. So when they're constantly being badgered or bombarded, even by cops who may mean well in their line of questioning, that process breaks down their confidence. That they're already really fragile, state of confidence. It breaks it down. It shatters it, and it shatters their sense of security, which was already shattered by the rape itself. And so, man, you should see Kaitlyn in this show, man. Kaitlyn gives such an emotionally devastating performance where she constantly doubts herself to the point of fear and tears. I mean, Kaitlyn cries a lot in this show, like not cries like in a sentimental kind of way, but crying as in, like, why do you keep asking me these questions? Like, why can't I leave? Like, I just want all of this to go away. That kind of tears. Um, and because of that as well, there would be times when you as audience would feel frustrated at her because you want her to stop feeling scared so much or scared so often. Because watching her constantly doubting herself like that, you would like, a part of you would be like, at least me also, you would want Marie to just, hey, snap out of it, be brave, stand up for yourself, stop crying a lot, stop, tell the cops what really happened, don't contradict your own story, don't doubt yourself like that. As an audience, you would, I bet you, when you watch Kaitlyn Dever in her performance as Marie Adler throughout these 8 episodes, there'll be times when you'll be thinking that. Um, and that's also, it's like, when I was thinking that, I was like, wow, I had to stop for a moment, like, wow, I'm kind of bad for thinking that. I should put myself, or at least try to put myself, or imagine how horrible it must be to be going through what Marie Adler is going through. Um, so yeah, what an unbelievable performance. No pun intended, for such a young actress like Kaitlyn Dever. Um, the the investigation aspect of it, by the two detectives played by Tony Collette and Merritt Weaver. As I said earlier, it's very engaging. They go all the way through the forensics, um, cross-checking, and good old detectives work of phone calling, canvassing, and they have good hunches. And I made a note here that it's not so much like buddy cop. You know what I'm saying? There are moments when uh, Grace and Karen would kind of disagree, or that their methods don't meet. But it's not a buddy cop comedy or a buddy cop drama. They have a little bit, the writing has a little bit of a personal life to, Grace and Karen, how they may be taking the stress of their work home with them, and it affects their relationship with their spouses. But it's but those things never take the front and center. You know what I'm saying? They never take the wheel. They're there to kind of like to remind you, the audience, that these two women are human beings. Um, and just like with any human beings, they sometimes their work would affect them personally on a personal level. But it's all it never takes, it never takes over the story, or it never puts the investigation in the back seat. Um, the investigation is always a priority to these two ladies. Now, I mentioned here on my note that the directors of this limited series are female. The key cast are female. The writers are female mostly, I would say. And so, if one argues that it has a female bias or female agenda, female centric agenda, you would be right to say that. And that would not be a wrong thing for Unbelievable to have such approach. Um, and it's obvious too. It's not like the show is kind of coy about it. No, because the investigators or the cops who investigate Marie Adler's case are two male cops. And juxtapose that or contrast that with the two female cops, Grace and Karen, who Grace and Karen are really, really meticulous, in their detective, where they have great hunches. They follow the lead. There's no stupid question. They really dissect. They really and they also champion the victims, unlike the male cops who at they who at one point in their investigation start doubting Marie instead of championing Marie, instead of fighting for Marie. They're like putting Marie on the crucifixion, basically. So, um, yeah, the show Unbelievable is not coy. It's not like coy. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, I guess. It's really in your face in saying that, hey, the male cops are incompetent. The female cops, they're the ones that are competent. Now, could there be a case in the real world out there where a cop is female and she would be incompetent in cases like rape? Yeah, I would say so, right? I mean, anybody could be incompetent, male, female, whatever. Incompetence is a part of laziness, and it's part of um, a weakness that anybody could inhabit, whatever gender you are. Um, but for the sake of this story, like I said, the female centric bias and agenda is it really has the intention from the get go to sort of demonize the male cops. And you know what? I'm not against that. Like I said, it's not a wrong thing. Um, to have a story like this with a sensitive topic to be told through that approach or through that perspective. Um, we, the history of television and the history of movies for close to 100 years now for movies and close to about 70 years for TV. Like, there's no shortage of TV shows and no shortage of movies with stories that are told through white male perspective. All right. So for this one to, you know, to arise and to be bold, to be in your face about, hey, the female or the women get it right, the men get it wrong. Why not? Why not? Why not? You can have the men get it right. That story has been told thousands of times in many other shows and many other movies for years, for decades. So why not this one? So if you are easily triggered by that, if you watch Unbelievable and you're like, huh, this is too female biased. Like, what am I? It's like, yeah, how dare this feminism? Then it might say something about your insecurity. um, so yeah, back to what I said about Grace and Karen. The whatever human drama, the whole spouse thing, personal stuff that they add, little tiny banter between Grace and Karen. They're minuscule. They're very formulaic and paper thin. You know, for the most part, Grace and Karen are all about catching this bad guy, and that's good. That's really good for those of us who are fans of mystery and detectives. Um, this that aspect of Unbelievable limited series really caters to that side of us who love who done it mysteries. So as I'm concluding this review, again, Unbelievable is not for the faint of heart. Um, if you remember the movie The Accused with Jodie Foster, remember that? Jodie Foster won Oscar. I think it was 1988, I want to say, or 87. I forgot which year. And then there's that movie Irreversible with Monica Bellucci. Remember that? Monica Bellucci's character got raped in the tunnel. If you find those scenes to be hard to, something like you're not comfortable watching those kinds of scenes, then I would not recommend Unbelievable to you, because it does get really, again, graphic frequently, I would add. So this is a limited series that is not for the faint of heart. um and you should not feel embarrassed about not being able to watch those scenes, because it means that you probably already have your heart in the right place. You're like, hey, that you have empathy for victim. Like, you don't want to I don't need to see that they go through that. I know that they go through that. So maybe that's a good thing that you feel uncomfortable about you know such scenes. But yeah, so just a heads up there. But again, it does help. The scenes in Unbelievable, it does help make you, the audience, kind of understand where the victims are coming from, in a way that, even though you can't really fully put yourself in their situation, but this is like a way to, you know, hopefully kind of put your mind or imagination stepping into their shoes somehow, even though you'll never actually be able to, because you're not victims, they are. Um, so Unbelievable is one of the most important shows, news shows, I would say. Yeah, this show is very, very important. Um, and it humbles you. It humbles me. It really breaks down or destroys whatever tendency you may have to doubt or question the victim first. Kind of like those lazy male detectives on this show. um, it challenges you to really, kind of fight for, to really not necessarily just side with, but fight for the victims. Really, even if you're not detectives, really be there for them. Like, what do you need? Let me listen to you. Or like I don't even have to say a thing. I'll sit right next to you, kind of thing. To be there. So this show kind of humbles me, at least for me. Like, wow, It's mind blowing. Um, and I want to add just this. Unfortunately, real world is not black and white. I mentioned to you that many times in many of my editorials. Real world is full of shades of gray, and out there in the real world is complex. It's complicated. Um, by that I mean you have people like Jussie Smollett. Remember Jussie Smollett, who cry wolf, like, "Oh my God, I got attacked, by these Trump supporters." It turns out, um, it was all an act. And then you have also the accuser of Brian Banks. Do you remember the story of Brian Banks? He was he was like a rising football player, really talented, fresh off high school. But what happened? He got accused of raping this girl, and he got thrown to prison for many years. So he lost much of his youth. He lost his chance at NFL. And guess what? He never raped the girl. And he got the girl confess on camera, you know, and thankfully Brian got exonerated but by the time he got exonerated, he was already too old to join NFL. So there goes his dream. Um so with Jussie Smollett and that girl, there are cases out there of people who unfortunately make themselves to be the victims so they can reap some benefits somehow, either publicity or money. And those people, they give actual victims a bad name. You know what I'm saying? So, and they give excuses for haters and right wingers out there to be like, "Oh, see, look at Brian Banks' accuser. Oh, look at Justice Smollett. Like, oh, they're all liars. Oh, the victims are all liars. Blame them for wearing skirts. High, or for blame them for like what are they do? What are they doing in the nightclub?" People like Justice Smollett and Brian Banks' accuser, unfortunately, give those haters ammunition. Um, so it is important for shows like this, Unbelievable, to exist, to remind you guys that not all of the victims are like Brian Banks' accuser or Justice Smollett. Justice Smollett was not raped, but I'm talking about the cry wolf people. Statistically speaking, sexual assault victims really, really tell the truth, and they bear this shame and embarrassment, and they fear for their lives. They fear for their losing job or reputation or friends. So oftentimes they don't even come forward. They don't speak up. They don't let the authorities know about the act, or maybe the rapist is somebody who's powerful or connected. So we got, the shows like Unbelievable is important to let us know, the audience, like, hey, first and foremost, listen to the victims. All right, don't make judgment, don't make assumption, let alone don't make any blames. Listen, really get the dig to the truth. If you are the detectives, don't be lazy, don't be incompetent, and fight for the victims. Fight for the victims. You know what I'm saying? Um, really give your due diligence. So hopefully this depiction, Unbelievable, can potentially dismantle our sudden urge to quickly jump to conclusions or assume the worst. And instead, hopefully we can come at it from a place of compassion, where we would first and foremost, before anything, listen. All right. We would listen first. So fantastic show. I would recommend it for those of you who actually can sit through some graphic scenes. It's powerful, great performances, excellent writing, And again, the message is timely, something that's imperative and very much needed in our society today. So, oh, I got some people chatting here. The film was excellent, Kim Yakore. Um, Tony Collette, can the show exhibit challenges of being a woman without always demonizing moroses? Sometimes one make things difficult for other women, even watching Fox News. Um, Ruben says, yeah, I confess, sometimes I get that offended a little by feminist shows, and I don't know, mixed feelings. I catch myself sometimes. Yeah, I meant, what if this happened to my girlfriend? Then it's easier to empathize. Yeah, exactly. Ruben 4749 brings up a good point here. You know, uh, and here's the thing too. Thank you for that, Ruben. Like a lot of us, when we blame the victims first, like, oh, she must be wearing some, she must have been wearing something sexy, or like she must have been asking for it, or what's she doing in the nightclub, what was she doing walking in the streets at night, whatever excuses. It, but then if it happens to somebody close to you, family member, girlfriend, God forbid, you know and then you all of a sudden you know and then you all of a sudden you have empathy. That's here's this is how I differentiate liberals and conservatives. Liberals, we want to, oh, what if that happens to us? We can kind of put ourselves in the other people's shoes. Conservatives, they're like, oh, as long as it doesn't happen to me, I don't care. But like, you've heard cases of conservatives like, oh yeah, I'm gonna push for anti-gay agenda. Gay marriage is horrible, it's against God. And then all of a sudden their son comes out, hey dad, I'm gay. And then you see the conservative will be like switching his position. Oh yeah, I'm for gay marriage now, I'm gay because my son is gay. See. So but why couldn't you have that empathy when your son did not even come out? You know what I'm saying? That's always the case with conservatives. Like, if it doesn't happen to me, I don't care. um Whereas liberals, that's why we are accused of having bleeding hearts. Because we really trying to side with the victims first, or trying to side with the oppressed first. um yeah, Dick Cheney, his daughter, that's one example. So this show, Unbelievable, even though we may not have family members, or God forbid our girlfriends or spouse that have been raped before, um it it's an important show that I think is powerful enough to generate empathy, at least to move us towards feeling empathy, towards those sexual assault victims out there, actual sexual assault victims out there. So yeah, really, really powerful show. I recommend it. It's on Netflix, 8 episodes. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've seen it, if you disagree with my assessment of it, let me know your thoughts as well. I'm curious to hear what you think of Unbelievable. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Kimya, for chatting with me. And if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.